Okay. Good evening. Good evening. My name is Lay Davenport at Enoch Pratt Free Library and the State Library Resource Center. Welcome, welcome. This is official Career Success Month. I'd like to introduce to you today our keynote speaker, Mr. Mike Morgan. He'll be sharing a little bit about his presentation, the journey of growth or the journey for growth and development. Again, my name is Lay Davenport. I'm the emerging workforce strategist for Enoch Pratt Free Library in Baltimore. I, along with my other co-chairs, Chris from Cecil County and Jaylene, who is not on screen with us this evening, but she is here. She is present with us from Prince George County. This is a statewide initiative of Maryland public libraries putting on this event to promote and reinforce professional development, workforce development, as well as job readiness skills. And so we have put together the workforce community of practice, and you are here to join us tonight to listen to one of our kickoff keynote speakers, Michael Morgan. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce him. I am pleased to introduce Mr. Michael Morgan. He obtained his BS from Penn State University and his MBA from Carnegie Mellon University. Coupled with his educational background, he has over 15 years of work experience across companies such as Amazon, Walmart, JP Morgan & Chase, Chevron. His ability to build and maintain his network, as well as identify means for professional development throughout his educational and career journey, has been fruitful in his success. He has a passion for teaching and inspiring others to achieve their goals, which led him to write his first book, The Power of Networking, and begin his journey as a motivational speaker. The Power of Networking has won the Library Titan Book Award, Global Book Award, International Impact Award, Penn Craft Book Award, and the Firebird Book Award. During this webinar, feel free to put your questions for Michael in the chat for our Q&A session at the end. With that, I will turn it over to our guest and keynote speaker for tonight, Michael Morgan.
Oh, thank you, Lay. It's a pleasure to be here today. I'm excited to give this presentation. I hope everyone that's on the live stream is excited as well. I have a lot of great content, so ready to jump in here. As Lay stated, if you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I'll make sure to leave time at the end so that I can go through any outstanding questions as well. I definitely want to make sure there's engagement, so I'll be asking everyone questions, and I want to make sure that we're using the chat together. So be ready for a fun event, an interactive event, and I'll have a lot of call to actions to finish this so that you can take things away with you that you can definitely leverage moving forward. Okay. So, as Lay stated, I am going to give a presentation today on the journey for growth and development. So, before we get started, I want to put out a question for everyone that's on the live stream. If you can go into the comment and put in where you're dialing in from, what city, what state. I'm hoping that we have a pretty diverse group of people that are on here, but feel free to use the chat. All right, I'm already see some Baltimore here. Love to see it. I have some family in the Baltimore area, so yeah, love to see it. Oh, Claire. Oh, yes. Appreciate this opportunity. I appreciate you joining in, Claire. So happy to have you on. Okay. So it seems like we have mostly Maryland here so far. But okay, we can get started. We can go to the next slide. Okay, so just quickly, I just want to go through the agenda. So I'll start off with talking about the job search and interview preparation. I'll get into professional development. As I stated, this is really about growth and development and how you can continue to improve. So I'll get into those details. I'll talk about how to make sure that you're executing at a high level in your role. Like I said, I want to give you all specific call to actions so that when you walk away from this presentation, there are certain tasks that you can take and deliverables to make sure that you're improving in your job search and in your role. And the last but not least, I'll leave time for questions and answers at the end. Okay, so we can get started. We'll start off with the job search and interview preparation. So first and foremost, there are so many resources that you can leverage. And I want to make sure that people are taking advantage of what the libraries have available for you. So, the library system has resources, they have programs, they have partnerships. So make sure when you're in the stages of the job search, and I'll get into later details as far as development and executing your role. But in any phase, whether you're starting off with a job search and interview preparation, whether you're trying to improve on your skills and develop, whether you're trying to excel in your role and get to the next level, leverage the resources that are available to you. And this all starts with the job search. So there are resources and career portals that are available at the library to help you in your job search. So, one of the things that I tell people all the time is you have to be very focused when you're searching for new job opportunities. Uh, a pitfall that I hear all the time is that people try to apply everywhere. And I'll ask them questions. Okay, what type of role are you looking for? What company are you interested in? And they're just blindly applying to every role at every company. And when you throw out too wide of a net, you don't get anything at all. My recommendation when it comes to the job search, try to focus on what type of role that you're looking for and try to narrow down a location and specific companies that you're interested in. So I will give you an example. When I made the decision that I wanted to get into the technology industry, and I made the decision I wanted to move to the Bay Area. I know the Bay Area has a ton of technology companies out there, and it'd be a great opportunity for me to get my foot into the door in that industry. When I was applying for roles, I looked at 5 companies I narrowed down to. I applied for Amazon, Google, Apple, PayPal, and Salesforce. I knew specifically I want a program manager role in these 5 companies. So I took the time to make job alerts. I used LinkedIn for job alerts, and I did searching on my own, but I focused on looking at those 5 companies and specific roles within those companies. And I recommend that you do the same. And like I said, leverage the resources that the library provide. They have career portals that can help you find these job opportunities. And sometimes it's good to just go to the library and be able to focus. So some of you may have access to a computer, some may not. But even if you have access to a computer, sometimes it's good to separate yourself from home. Where at home you could have a lot of distractions. You can have the TV, you could have family, you could have friends. There's so many things that may take you away from being focused during the job search opportunity. So definitely leverage the library whenever you can. So that's number one when it comes to the job search. Secondly, resume writing. So in the chat, feel free to add in your thoughts. How often are you updating your resume today? Let's see everyone's feedback. How often are you updating your resume? Okay. So I see some chat, some feedback coming in. My recommendation, and I don't think people take advantage of this enough, you should be updating your resume at least every 6 months, if not at least every year. So every 6 months to 1 year, you should be updating your resume. What I see happen all the time is that people will work in a role, they'll be in that same role for 3 years, 4 years, and by the time that they want to update the resume, they may have forgotten some of the big initiatives that they worked on. And now they're trying to remember different projects initiatives they're working on. Now they're trying to remember the data points behind it. You should always be updating your resume. You never know what opportunity may be presenting itself. So you want to keep all the things that you're working on fresh in your resume at all times. I also strongly recommend with the resume bolding items. when you submit a resume to a company, they're only looking at your resume for 30 seconds to 1 minute max. If you bold specific items on your resume, let's say that you help generate $1 million in sales. Let's say that you reduce cycle time by 80%. If you bold $1 million in sales, that's the first thing that will draw in my eye when I look at your resume. So make sure that you're bolding items. Make sure that you're updating your resume regularly. Make sure this is something that a lot of people don't think about as well. When I'm applying for a role, I am tailoring my resume to that role. So I don't have one resume and I'm just applying to the different companies, different roles with the same resume. If I see a role, I will look at what are the responsibilities, what are the skills that they're looking for, and I will tailor my resume to fit that role. So I will give you 2 examples. I've worked in as a business analyst before. And as a business analyst, I updated my resume to highlight my analytical skills. And I'll talk about this later in the presentation, but I have a Tableau desktop specialist certification. So as applying for a business analyst role, I'm highlighting that I have that certification and I have that skill set with that tool. And I'm highlighting my analytical skills and my ability to be able to take data, not only extract data, analyze it, present data, and help leaders make data-driven decisions. So I am specifically tailoring my resume based off what the responsibilities of that role are. So that way the recruiters can see that I am a perfect fit for that role. Whereas I've also worked in program management roles. And when I work in program management roles, I tailor my resume to show my ability to implement process improvements. A big part of program management is being able to make the process more efficient. So I will highlight my Lean Sigma certification. I have a Lean Sigma Black Belt certification. And I will highlight projects where I was able to reduce cycle time, where I was able to save costs for the company. But I'm making sure that I'm tailoring my resume so that it fits the role and I don't have one generic resume that I'm just applying to all these different roles. Okay. Interview techniques. Does anyone know what the STAR format is, or does anyone here know the STAR acronym? If so, put a +1 in the chat if you know the STAR acronym. Okay, perfect. There's nothing wrong with that. That's why we're here today. So STAR it's an acronym. It stands for situation, task, action, result. So when you are giving an interview, you should make sure that your responses fit into the STAR format. So if an interviewer asks you a question, you will initially tell them what was the situation that you faced, whether it's a situation in your work experience, whether it's in your education experience. This is the situation that I was in. This is the tasks that I owned. Most of the time you're working with a team, but everyone has their own specific roles. So T is task. What was my task? What was my role in this situation? A is action. What action did you take in order to implement a change, in order to make sure that the project is completed? And then R is results. Result is critical. There are so many times I've interviewed candidates and they don't provide me with the result. You want to have data whenever possible. So as I said, if you were able to generate millions of dollars in revenue, if you were able to save millions of dollars in cost, if you were able to improve a process, highlight, I generated X amount of dollars. I saved Y amount of dollars. I reduced the process time by Z%. But make sure that you have that data. So these are critical things that will help you in the interview process. Make sure that you perform well so that you can get that job. So make sure that you're taking in these tips, advice when it comes to interviewing. Make sure that you have questions in your back pocket to ask the interviewer. There are a lot of times where I'll interview candidates, and at the end of an interview, they're always allowing you time to ask questions to the interviewer. If you come in and you don't have any questions for the interviewer, it looks as though you haven't done your preparation. You haven't done your due diligence. So I always have questions in my back pocket. What made you interested in joining the company? Why did you join? What do you love the most about working here? If I were to be in this role, what do you think would be the biggest challenge that I would have to face? So make sure that you're thinking about these questions that you want to ask the interviewer as well. I would say that's very critical. And all of these tips will really help you throughout the interview process. The last tip that I would give with interviewing that I see is a big pitfall where a lot of people fail, make sure you know why you want to join the company. As I stated, I've conducted hundreds of interviews across Amazon, JP Morgan, Chevron, Walmart, and a lot of interviewees, they'll knock the interview out of the park. And the last interview question will be, why do you want to work here? And a lot of people will fail at this question. It seems like a very simple question. So I will give you an example. At Chevron, I would interview candidates and I would ask them, why do you want to work for Chevron? And an answer that a lot of people will give me is, oh, well, you're one of the largest oil and gas companies in the world. That doesn't say anything about why they want to work for Chevron. Exxon's one of the biggest companies in the world. Shell, BP, like these are all big oil and gas companies. So if you tell me you want to work for Chevron because we're one of the biggest oil and gas companies, that doesn't say anything about Chevron specifically. Now, if a candidate instead said, well, I really care about sustainability. I want to make sure that I'm leaving a minimal carbon footprint in the world. I know Chevron has a goal where they're trying to leave a zero carbon footprint. That's something that aligns with my values. And I know by joining this company, I can help Chevron reach that goal. Now you're saying something specifically about Chevron, and you're tying your values and your goals in with the company. So, look at what the values are of the company, what your values are, how they align. Think about, what the company may be doing in the environment for like different charities, different things, and find a way that you have an alignment of why you want to work at that company. But just saying that it's a big company and one of the biggest companies and you want to work there, that's not going to cut it. So be mindful and think through exactly why you want to work for that company. All right, career planning. Who here plays chess? Put a +1 in the chat if you play chess. I love to make a chess analogy, so like to see who here are chess players. Okay, so my chess analogy, for those of you who don't play chess, the goal of chess is it's a board game, and your goal is to get checkmate on your opponent's king. And in order to get to checkmate, you're always thinking 2 moves ahead. I'm not thinking about my next move. I'm thinking how this move would set me up to get my opponent into checkmate. Think about your career in the same way. Don't just think about the next role. Think about how that role will set you up for the role after that. So as an example, if you want to be a people manager, it's very difficult to go from an individual contributor directly to a people manager role. But if you're thinking 2 steps ahead, you can take a role where you're potentially managing interns, or you can take a role where you're potentially managing contractors. So these are not full-time employees that are reporting to you indefinitely. It may be a short amount of time. Interns maybe 3 months. Contractors could be anywhere from 3 months, 6 months. But you can have that as a resume builder and say, hey, I've had the opportunity to manage people. I've managed interns. I've managed contractors. I am ready for an opportunity where I'm managing full-time employees. So make sure you're thinking like chess. Think 2 steps ahead, and make sure, once again, leverage your resources. The library system has resources. They have programs. They have partnerships that you can leverage to help you with your career planning. So you are not on your own. And then last but not least, coaching. This ties in with the library resources as well. You can schedule appointments through the library, and they could provide some help and some coaching services. So definitely make sure that you're taking advantage of the opportunities that are provided to you. Okay, so we'll move on to the next slide. Professional development. So regardless of where you are in your career, you should always be striving to improve. Nobody is perfect. I'm not perfect. There's always things that you can improve on. Everyone has their strengths, everyone has areas for opportunity. You should make sure that you're taking the opportunity to learn and develop as much as possible. There's always areas to work on. Talk to your manager, talk to your colleagues, talk to your friends, get an understanding of what gaps you may have and how you can close those gaps. Identify trainings. If you leverage the resources at the library, you can identify different trainings that are applicable and that can help you in your career endeavors. You can leverage, there's LinkedIn Learning, there's Coursera, there's Udemy. There's so many resources out there, but it's critical that you're understanding what your strengths are, what your areas for improvement are, and you're taking trainings that can help you close those gaps. So, make sure you're doing a due diligence and really understand how you can improve. The same thing with certifications. So certifications are very similar to trainings. With certifications, at the end of your training, you essentially have to take some type of test or evaluation to show your level of knowledge and expertise in that field. So, as I said, I have multiple certifications. I was able to get a Lean Sigma Black Belt certification while I worked at Chevron. I was able to get a Tableau desktop certification. As I said, Tableau is a data visualization tool. I work in program management. I was able to get a certification in by the Project Management Institute. So I have a project management professional certification. I worked in contracting. I was able to get a certification in contract and commercial management. So I'm always finding certifications that are relevant for me and relevant to my function, relevant to my industry, to my role. And this is a way for me to continue to develop. And not only is it a way for me to continue to develop, this is something that I can add to my resume. So let's take this scenario. Let's say that you're interviewing for a role and there's two candidates that are neck and neck. They both did great in the interview. They have both had great backgrounds, great resumes, but one has a certification that's relevant for the role and can help them be more effective in the role, and one of them doesn't. Whoever has the certification will have a competitive advantage. So, take that in consideration. If you're able to get certifications that are relevant to the roles that you're applying to, it can give you a competitive advantage. And some roles require certifications. You may not even be able to apply to the role at all if you don't have the certification. It's an expectation to have it. So make sure that you're leveraging resources, you're identifying training, certifications that you can take, and that will help you continue to grow and develop throughout your career journey. Next one up is mentorship. So mentorship is critical. Some companies will have formal mentorship programs where you can apply and you can fill out a profile. You can list what your strengths are, where your areas of opportunity, what you're looking for from a mentor, and they'll pair you up with someone else in the company. Sometimes you may have to find a mentor more organically. And trust me, I understand some people are more intrinsic, some people are more extrinsic. Regardless, even if you're intrinsic, you have to put yourself out there and identify mentors. You have to understand whatever role you're in, there's probably someone who's done the role before you, who's been in that role longer than you. They might be in the company longer than you. They may have been in the industry longer. There's always someone that you can learn from. And they've probably dealt with the same situations that you're currently facing. So they can tell you what pitfalls to avoid. They can give you Hello, can everyone hear me? Okay. Sorry about that. Had a little bit of technical difficulties, but I'm back. So as I was saying for mentorship, there's always going to be someone who's been in the role longer, who's been in the industry longer, who's been at the company longer, and it doesn't make sense for you to deal with the same issues. They can tell you pitfalls to avoid and give you advice to make sure that you're successful in your role, to make sure that you're continuing to grow, develop. They can recommend trainings to take, certifications to take, roles to take. So make sure you're identifying the right mentor relationship. You're leveraging your mentors. Make the most of your mentor relationship. What I see a lot of times that people will identify mentors, and they'll either come into a meeting with their mentor unprepared, or they'll meet with their mentor 1 month, they'll meet with them again. They didn't take any of the steps or recommendations that their mentor provided. If someone's taking the time out of their day to be your mentor, make sure that you're being respectful of their time. Make sure you're taking the actions that they recommend. This can make a huge difference in your career. So definitely leverage mentorship. On the job learning. So there will you'll always be learning while you're on the job. There will be times where you'll get asked to work on things you may never worked on it before. This may be new to you, and you'll naturally learn by doing. But make sure that you're having the conversation with your boss. Make sure that they understand what you're looking for. They understand what you're interested in, and they could put you on the right deliverables, the right projects where you can continue to grow and learn and work on deliverables that make sense for you and make sense for your career path. So there's always development when it comes to on the job learning. And then last but not least, books and newsletters. What better place to find relevant books to help you in your professional development than a library? One of the things that I've been told throughout my career is leaders are readers. Okay. So make sure you think about that. Leaders are readers. I try to read a book. I try to read 6 books a year. So that's my goal. I'm always reading books that are, business focused. How can I be more efficient with emails? How can I be more efficient with my meetings? How to emotional intelligence? How can I understand and manage my emotions as well as the emotions of others? How can I ramp up and be effective in the first 90 days in a new role? So I'm constantly looking for books that can help me grow and develop, give me different perspectives from different people, give me strategies that I can apply on a day-to-day basis. And I strongly recommend you do the same. So definitely leverage books. You can definitely find books that are relevant for you in your field, in your industry at the library. And then also look into newsletters. I think newsletters are extremely helpful. So as an example, I work in tech, and I want to stay up to date on what are the industry trends, what's going on within the field of tech. And it could be time consuming for me to do all the research on my own. But if you find the right newsletter, you can get an email once a day, and it can be an easy 5-10 minute read, and it can keep you up to date on everything that's going on in the industry. So me personally, I use a newsletter called TLDR, which stands for Too Long Didn't Read, but it gives me every day, it's a 5-10 minute blurb where I can stay up to date on everything that's going on in tech. Okay. All right, we can go to the next slide. All right, so I talked about the job search and the interviewing prep. And then, I got into developing and learning and growing during your journey. But you also have to make sure you're performing your role and you're performing it well. A lot of people will get into a role and they're already trying to think about what's next. They're thinking about the next role and they're trying to advance in their career. Before you move forward, before you can even advance, you have to make sure you're performing your role and you're performing it well. That is key. So don't already start looking at the next thing. Make sure that you're executing your role at a high level. Okay? Now, above and beyond, if you want to advance in your career, you have to do more than just your role. Now, first and foremost, you have to do your job well, And if you have the capacity, that's when you're trying to find out, okay, are there additional projects that I can take on? Are there additional deliverables? That's when you're meeting with your manager and trying to see if you can expand your scope. You're meeting with your colleagues and other teams in different organizations and seeing if you can assist in different ways. Maybe you're getting more involved with interviewing. Like before I became a people manager, I was still interviewing candidates well before I became a people manager. So I was trying to find different ways to go above and beyond my role. And that taking those steps, that's what's going to help you get to the next level. That's what's going to help you get promoted. So make sure that you're thinking about going above and beyond. Okay. Networking. Networking is critical. I tell people this all the time. You have to think about networking as if it's part of your job. So networking can help you get your foot in the door with any company because you can get referrals. Referrals can help you get your foot in the door. If you know people in the company, they can help you with interview prep because they've already interviewed at the company. They can give you tips. Once you get into a role, networking can help you get the job done. As I said, you may be asked to do things that you don't know how to do, but if you have the right people in your network, they can either help you and show you how to do it, or it can point you in the right direction. And then networking can get you promoted and get you to the next level. Oftentimes, in an organization, you may have an organization of 400 people, and there may be 10, 15 managers sitting in a room deciding who's getting promoted to that next level. If you haven't networked with senior leadership and they don't know who you are, they don't know the value that you're bringing to the table, chances are that is going to limit your ability to move up. So make sure that you're networking, and that will help you in your career. And then last but not least, think big. So this is critical. So don't just think about your role in your team. Think about how can you make an impact on the greater organization? How can you make an impact for the entire company? Your ability to think big will help you advance in your career. Don't think about, hey, let me just focus on doing my role. How can I do my role more efficiently? How can I reduce costs? How can I reduce time so that when the next person that follows me in this role, now their job is easier? So if you can come up with process improvements or think on a global level, how can I make improvements for other people on the team and the organization? This will really help you advance in your career. Okay. So we can go to the next slide. Okay, we are wrapping up. So as I said, I want to make sure that I'm giving you specific call to actions to end this. So at the end of this presentation, you can go home and take these steps, take these deliverables. First and foremost, leverage the resources that are available to you. The library system is a great resource. They have programs, they have partnerships. Leverage their resources. You initially you want to start off with the search and the preparation for your career. You can leverage the coaching services that are available at the library. You can reserve their computers. You can use their databases to make sure that you're finding the right job opportunities and that you're preparing your resume and getting prepared for the interviews. Once you land the job, you want to constantly develop. How can you grow and develop? And that's taking trainings, that's taking certifications, that's identifying mentors, that's learning on the job, that's reading books and signing up for newsletters. So you should always be looking to develop. And then last but not least, when you're in the role, perform your role well, and then try to find opportunities to go above and beyond your role. Make sure that you're thinking big. How can you improve the entire team, the entire organization? How can you make things better for the company? So these will really be steps that will help you land your dream job, make sure that you're constantly developing and growing in your role, and that you're executing your role at a high level and advancing in your career. Okay. So in the next slide, I'm constantly looking to grow and develop myself. I know I just gave a presentation on growth and development, but I'd love if you have a few minutes. It's a quick 2 to 3 minute survey. You can either scan the QR code or you can go to the website, talk.ac/Michael V. Morgan, and type in the code CSM for Career Success Month. but I'd love to get your feedback. I know Lay put some links into the chat as well. If you want to reach out to me through LinkedIn or through my personal website, feel free to reach out to me. I'm here to help you. If you have any questions, anything that I can do to assist you in your career journey, please let me know. That's what gets me excited. I want to make sure that everyone's thriving and succeeding in their goals. And with that being said, I'll leave the rest of the time up for questions and answers.
Thank you, Michael, for being here tonight. We appreciate your willingness to come out. I know our community of practice and our patrons that were on the stream tonight really appreciate it. As we come into this next section, I have a couple questions for you that I wanted to ask for people that are watching tonight. So the first one would be, what are some of the common reasons why people are afraid to excel? I saw in that last slide how you're talking about really executing at a high level, developing in your career. What would be some of the common reasons that people be afraid to do that? And then what are ways for people to overcome those hurdles?
So the most common thing that I hear is a lot of people are afraid to excel is they assume that they'll automate themselves out of a job. Like if I do this too well, or if I reduce the process time, right now this process takes a week to execute. If I reduce this to a couple hours or a couple minutes, then what am I going to do? The thing I tell people all the time, if you're a strong employee and you're able to excel in your role and make something more efficient, they'll find something else for you to work on. You're not going to automate yourself out of a job. There's always going to be other problems in the company, other deliverables that you can work on. So I would make sure that you're focusing, like, don't think that you're going to automate yourself out of a job. The second piece that I see a lot of people are nervous about, if you excel in your role, you get more work and more responsibilities. And sometimes people, they don't want the additional work and responsibilities. They like the constant. But you have to challenge yourself. Push yourself outside of your comfort zone. That's only going to make you a stronger person. It's only going to make you a better employee. So even though it may result in you getting more work, it'll also help you get to another level in your career, higher title, more money. If you want to move up, you have to expect to get more responsibilities. It's a compliment, essentially. The fact that they're giving you more work is because they trust you. So you shouldn't fear excelling in your role.
Thank you for that. And then going forward, looking at some of our other questions that we're having coming through here, what do you think, going back to more the interview and the resume part, what do you think are barriers that inhibit qualified people from getting hired?
Barriers. So I would say, first and foremost, people just don't apply. So you have to be willing to put yourself out there. I know sometimes people will look at a job description, they'll get intimidated. They feel as though maybe they meet 70% of the criteria, 80% of the criteria. Even if you don't feel as though you've hit 100% of the criteria, still put yourself out there. You can be honest during the interview and explain to them, like, hey, I may be missing 10%, 20%. But you make sure you're telling them, if you're missing that 10%, 20%, what you're doing to close those gaps. But don't be afraid to apply. And then I would say the second piece, building the relationships, it makes a huge difference. I know an interview isn't long. An interview may be 45 minutes, it may be an hour. People want to hire, they don't just want to hire people that can do the job. They want to hire people that they can see what we're working with on a day-to-day basis. So if I can find a way during the interview to connect with my interviewer, maybe we have the same hobbies, maybe we went to the same alma mater, but we have some commonalities that can help, connect us. That also helps me get my foot in the door. Yes, I'm also proving to them that I have the experience and the skill set to do the job, but us connecting with one another, that really helps as well. And then I would also say, at the end of an interview, I know it's a small gesture, but to me, it goes a long way. Sending out a thank you email for people taking the time to interview you, connecting with people on LinkedIn, like, those are nice gestures that could really help you secure that interview. And then, like I said, make sure you're putting in the time to practice as well. you're doing your due diligence, you're thinking through what your star stories are, you're thinking through what questions that they could ask you. And this will really help you perform well during the interview process.
Thank you. I know we also, during your presentation, you talked about how you like to read 6 books a year, and you frequently read books on career development and on personal growth. What book would you recommend for job seekers to read? Or I guess I can open that up to, what books would you recommend job seekers to read?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of my favorite books is The First 90 Days. So that really helps you ramp up as soon as you get into a role, and make sure that your first 90 days are very critical to your success. And it gives you tips, guidance in order to be successful in that first 90 days. I really love Working with Emotional Intelligence by Daniel Goleman. I think emotional intelligence is something that's often overlooked, but it as I said before, it gets into making sure that you manage your emotions, you understand your emotions, you understand the emotions of other people. And that could really help with the relationship when you're working with your colleagues, your direct reports, your superiors. It's something a book that I personally loved. Never Eat Alone, literally one of my favorite networking books. It really gets into managing relationships and networking, building those relationships, maintaining those relationships. So I'd say those are 3 really good books that I'd recommend. But one of my favorite questions when I'm speaking with somebody is asking them what books they're currently reading, so I can get, ideas of the next book that I want to read. But it's to me, it's definitely important. Like I said, leaders are readers. So I'm constantly trying to find other books that I can read that will help me throughout the process.
Sure. What are some tips you can give for introverts or shy people who are uncomfortable with networking to start the process?
So one of the tips that I'd like to say is start small. I wouldn't tell an introvert to go to a conference that has 1,000 people and go make 100 contacts. Like start off small. Find a local organization, go to a local networking event, make one connection. I'll challenge them, hey, like make one connection. And that that will build up their confidence, and they'll start realizing like, hey, this isn't as bad as I thought it was. And you can continue to build on that. And the next time you go to a networking event, hey, try to make 2, try to make 3. And over time, as you build those confidence, now you can go to those bigger events. Now you can go to a conference that has thousands of people and try to make like more connections. But as difficult as it is, even as an introvert, you have to put yourself out there in different situations where you're meeting either colleagues at your job, you're meeting people external from your job. So I know most companies have employee resource groups. I think that's a good way to try to network within your company and meet other people that may be outside of your team. Externally, there's tons of organizations that you can join. As an example, I work in cybersecurity now. I joined an organization called Cyversity that tries to get more diversity in cybersecurity. And it was a good way for me to meet other people in the industry. When I worked in oil and gas, I joined the Young Professionals in Energy. It's a great way for me to meet other people in your industry. You never know where a connection may lead you, whether it's internal to your company, whether it's external from your company, but you have to put yourself in these situations. But I would really say start small, set goals for yourself. And, those wins can really help build up your confidence so you can continue to network more and get more contacts moving forward.
Great. Another one that we're seeing here is LinkedIn is used by many employers to evaluate prospective employees for hire. Is networking on LinkedIn advised? And if so, what tips can you give job seekers about using the platform?
Yes, absolutely. I love LinkedIn. So I would definitely network on LinkedIn. My recommendation, if you can find some way to connect with the person that you're reaching out to. I know some people like to just blindly add people that they haven't met, they have no connection with. I don't think that's always successful. If you have someone in your network that knows somebody else that you want to connect with, maybe ask them for an introduction. Or if you have some type of commonality, maybe they went to the same alma mater as you, maybe they work at the same company as you. You could say, hey, I wanted to connect. I saw that you went to the same school as me. I'd love to speak with you further. Like find some way to connect as opposed to just blindly just adding any and everybody on LinkedIn. I think that makes a huge difference. but LinkedIn is a great resource. I would, like I said, after this event, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. But it's a good way for me to connect with new people, maintain connections. I'm constantly going onto the platform, and I'll see if anyone in my network has started a new job, has earned a new certification, and that's my way where I can reach out to them and, hey, congratulations! I see you just started a new role. I'd love to connect and catch up and see how you're doing. And that way, it's not like I just met this person one time and I've never reconnected with them. I'm using the events that pop on LinkedIn as a way to maintain my connection and constantly follow up with them. So I would definitely leverage LinkedIn as much as possible. Make sure you're adding your interviewers and your colleagues. These are all connections that you should be adding on LinkedIn. Like I said, you never know where a connection may open up a door for you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's interesting for me with LinkedIn right now, because we're getting ready to have a class of Intro to LinkedIn in our library system coming up in a few weeks. And so for me, it's very helpful to see like how you, as someone that's really been passionate about networking, how you view LinkedIn. As a follow-up to that, are there any things that you would say, like what I would like, maybe your top things of things that you definitely should do on LinkedIn to make your profile stand out, and then maybe on the opposite end of things that are definite actions to avoid when you're on LinkedIn?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So one of the things, it sounds very simple. Make sure you have like a tailored link for your personal profile. So like my profile on LinkedIn specifically says Michael V. Morgan. Like you can go in there and make sure that you're tailoring it. I'd also say whenever possible, do post on LinkedIn. If you find good articles that are relevant, if you take certifications, trainings, that way you're constantly popping up in people's feed and their minds. So make sure, make posts whenever possible. Stay up to date on LinkedIn. Make sure that you're listing your most recent company, your most recent role. What I see is a lot of times people don't update their LinkedIn. They're only updating their resume, and the resume and LinkedIn look completely different. You send your resume to a company, they try to look up your LinkedIn profile, they're confused. It says you're working on one company in LinkedIn, you have a completely different company on your resume. You should be updating both. So I'd say make sure you're taking those steps. And then, like I said, leverage the network of LinkedIn. What I see a lot of times that people just like to go on LinkedIn, they'll meet somebody new, they'll add them, and they just keep adding new connections. Networking is not just building your connections, it's maintaining those connections. Like I said, I leverage LinkedIn to see what people are in my network are doing, and I will reach out to them and follow up with them. It's a way for me to maintain my relationship and keep in touch with them. So make sure that you're not just adding people on, that you're continuously, reaching out and building those relationships to make the most of your connections.
Thank you. I think that that's good advice, and I think that we appreciate your answers to all the questions that we've had. We have another question that came in. This will probably be our last question before I turn it over to Jaylene for the closing tonight. Career Success Month's theme this year is upskill and uplift the future workforce. How important are libraries to assisting the community in upskilling and uplifting their skills?
Yeah, like I said, libraries are absolutely critical. I think a lot of people don't realize and don't take full advantage of the resources at libraries, of the programs, of the partnerships. So like I said, when it comes to developing your skill set, identifying trainings, identifying certifications, identifying job opportunities, potentially identifying organizations to join, mentorship programs to be a part of, like coaching services, like there's so many resources that are available at a library to help you grow, to help you develop, to help you upskill, to help you get to that next level, to help you get that job. So definitely take advantage. I mean, it's one of the reasons that I'm here talking today, is to make sure that everyone dialing in is taking advantage of those resources. So when it comes to upskilling, I would say libraries are absolutely critical.
Fantastic. Thank you for answering the questions that we had. I am now going to be turning this over to Jaylene from Prince George's County to close out for tonight.
Hi, hello. It has been great listening to all of this. This has been a great broadcast. We want to say thank you again, Michael, and thank you to everyone who signed up to attend tonight's webinar. We are excited to continue Career Success Month with programs at several public libraries across the state of Maryland. If you would like to see a list of the programs, search for Career Success Month 2025 on Google. We will also drop the link for you in the chat. For the Maryland State Library's page, Maryland State Library Agency's page. We would also sincerely appreciate your feedback. I know that Michael mentioned his survey. We also have one that we would like to provide for you for tonight's webinar. And we will drop the link in the chat as well and send you a survey via email to share your thoughts on tonight's broadcast. Have a great rest of your evening. We hope to see you in some of our other programs, not just you, but your family and your friends. Please share everything that we have for the future Career Success Month programs. Thank you so much.